If you remember from before, I said that one of the attributes that separates a OK editor from a top level, top 1% video editor is the ability to research and resource. This video is just going to be an overview to get you in the right mindset of this. If some situations jump a little far ahead, just know that I will be covering it in the workflow module, so don't worry. For now, this video is here for you to get a better understanding on why research and resourcing is so vital. And we're going to go through how to optimize your researching and resourcing. So as an editor, you need the following: the ability to find and identify high quality assets. And you need to be able to research to boost your creativity. A lot of the times when I see a bad animation or edit that doesn't look quite right, or it kind of looks cheesy, it's because the chosen assets were not the highest quality, or it didn't fit the aesthetic that the person's going for. Remember back to our visual bank and our inspiration board. If we're trying to create something as the same aesthetic and vibe of something on that inspiration board, but we select assets that the original artist wouldn't use, then the image, animation, or edit is not going to come out right. This could be in the form of just choosing the wrong font, or using a low quality image, or using an image that the artist wouldn't use. There's a whole bunch of things. And that's why it's necessary to imitate first, so you understand everything that goes into a particular style before you go ahead and start to innovate. You need to train your brain on how the original creator would go about creating that piece of artwork or that edit for their video. If you want to replicate an aesthetic, it's all about choosing the right types of assets that the original artist or creator would use or choose. So being able to identify the proper asset is critical, and it goes back to Steal Like an Artist. But what techniques do I use when trying to implement someone else's style into my own visuals? Well, it all begins with research. Let me hop over to my computer and I'll explain it from there. All right, so we're on the computer here, and I'm going to be showing you how I use research and resource to be able to come up with ideas to visualize certain concepts in the video that I'm working on. One of the biggest problems that kept on recurring when a new editor would come aboard onto my team is that they would constantly be running out of ideas and inspiration to visualize things in a video. They always ask me, Brett, how do you keep on coming up with ideas for certain parts of the video? I often run into a couple of sentences or a certain situation where I just have no idea how to visualize it. I have no inspiration for it. How do you constantly come up with great ideas to visualize concepts? And with that, it really led me to thinking about, how do I always come up with great ideas? And I developed a process to help out with coming up with ideas for visualizations of concepts. A lot of your inspiration is going to be coming from your editor's board or just people that you're watching in general. But as you're editing a video, how do you take a certain sentence or a concept, use research to help you be inspired, and then also take that inspirational research and make it look in the aesthetic you want? Because as of right now, we are in the imitation phase or the copy phase. In order to get to the phase where you develop your own unique style, you need to first understand how to create a A+ or top tier style first. Otherwise, if you just try to create a top tier style out of your own brain, that's not going to happen. It just doesn't magically appear there. You don't magically come up with an amazing style that everybody loves. So we're in that imitation phase, and you have to copy first. For this example here that I'm going to be showing you, we are going to be going for the Vox look. So how do I take a sentence like this one right here, and I'll read it in a second. How do I take a sentence that Vox has never visualized before? They might have visualized something similar, but they never visualized a unique sentence from a new video that I'm editing. How do I take that and make it look like something Vox would create? How do I make it look in that Vox style? Well, we use the research capability that we have to become inspired and take that inspiration and take the Vox style and combine those two. Now, if that didn't make a lot of sense, it'll start to make some sense as I go about this and show you exactly how I take this sentence right here and make it in that Vox style and search up inspiration to figure out how to visualize this sentence. Now let me get into reading it, and then I have a few bullet points that help me during the research process. So the sentence reads, testing more ads helps you build a bigger pyramid to see more revenue at the top. This is a little bit of a confusing sentence, and I chose this on purpose because it's something that's definitely a little bit harder to visualize. And I want to take you through the process of how I get inspired to visualize something like this. The first bullet point I have here is find keywords. Keywords is a great thing to use if you're stuck on you don't know how to visualize this sentence. You first identify the keywords within that sentence. So here, the keywords are ads, pyramid, revenue, top. Of course, all these other words play into creating the visualization in whole, but we're going to be using these keywords during our research process. So what I do is find keywords like we just did, ads, pyramids, revenue, top, and then I use these and search them up on Google. So if I want to visualize the word ad, I'm going to type that into Google, pull up some images and get inspired from those images. If I want to visualize pyramid, I'm going to look that up in Google, see what other people are creating, see what images pop up. I'm going to take that inspiration, apply it to my own visualization. Same with revenue and top. So now that you identify those keywords and you may be looking them up on Google, there's actually a couple things you can do to help pull up better inspiration using those keywords. So what I do is often search things in article titles. So let's take the word revenue here. An example would be how to make more revenue in your business. That's an article title. And why do we use an article title when looking up images on Google? Well, often, more than not, someone creates an article, it's usually a big publication. And that big publication spends money on the header image. And usually that header image is pretty well designed for the most part. So searching in article titles definitely helps out with coming up with inspiration. The next thing is finding images close to the desired aesthetic that you're going for. And as we go about this, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But when I'm looking things up, when I'm looking keywords up, it might be the word pyramid. If I'm trying to create something that Vox has created in that aesthetic, if I find a pyramid image that's a little bit cheesy looking that Vox would never, and I mean never, put into their video, then we don't want to use that picture of the pyramid or the illustration of the pyramid as a reference for our inspiration, because then we're just going to have a cheesy inspiration. It's not going to look like the Vox aesthetic. Now, there is things to do where you find an image of a pyramid, or it might be something else on here, and you take that image and then suit it for the aesthetic for Vox. You can use that. Like say if, hey, I have no idea how to create a money coin or something. Well, you can find an image online, take that money coin, and then apply the colors and the way Vox would create that money coin to it, but you're using it as a reference to draw it. That's a little bit of an exception, and I'm going to show you that as we go about visualizing this sentence here. But this right here is extremely important. This was almost like a epiphany that I had when I was talking to my editors. They asked me, okay, Brett, you look up things on Google, but why are you choosing certain images to be inspired from over other images? And I said to them, well, I guess when I'm looking at images, I'm trying to find something that the artist that I'm trying to mimic would use in their visualization. So like Vox, would they use this particular image in a video or in a, graphic design thing that they create? The answer is no. Then I'm not going to use that as my inspiration. The next one is expanding on keywords. A quick example of this is the word revenue. If I search that up on Google, yeah, we might get some things that pop up that could inspire us, but more often than not, a bland word like this might not give us that inspiration. So what I do is expand upon this word. I find synonyms for revenue. That might be money, coins, dollar amount, dollar signs, whatever it may be. I then substitute this keyword for synonyms and expand upon it and look that up on Google, and I find images that help me become inspired. Another way to expand upon words is like this here, the word ad. If I looked up just the word ad on Google Images, it might not pull up the best images for me to get inspired from. So then I'm going to expand upon that word. If I looked up video ads, and then if I looked up short form video ads, different things are going to pop up that will inspire me. And that leads me to my next one here is use keywords like icon and illustration. Going back to the ads here, if I looked up ad icon, that might come up with a great icon that I can then take for my visualization. If I looked up ad illustration, there might be some really good illustrations that sort of look like Vox, going back to our desired aesthetic, that I can take, rework a little bit, put it into my visualization, and there we go. I was inspired by our research. There's a little bit more to it than just these bullet points, and as I go about visualizing this sentence here, I will talk about those things that might be just for particular situations. The last thing I have here down below is use Envato. I will talk about this often, but Envato is probably one of the most underrated asset platforms out there. It's very cheap for what you get, and there's a lot of inspiration or just great quality assets that you can find. And you see I have 3D section here. That's probably the most underutilized thing on Envato is the 3D section. And you'll see me use that as you get to the editing process module. But yeah, don't be afraid to use Envato. It's really good. Alrighty, so let's get into visualizing this sentence here. I'm going to read it one more time and then we're going to start. Testing more ads helps you build a bigger pyramid to see more revenue at the top. So once again, those keywords are ads, pyramid, revenue, and top. Of course, everything matters here, and we want to understand the concept of this sentence. And this is a little bit of a harder sentence to understand the concept of. You may need the entire video. That's why it's important to watch the entire video through before you start visualizing to understand what the actual video is about, which in return will help you visualize certain sentences. But the concept of this is, hey, if you test more ads, you have more to go off of, more ads to find a winning ad. And therefore, the more you test, the more revenue you'll see at the bottom of your sales funnel. If you're just testing, 5 ads, great, you tested 5 ads, you might find one winner that does somewhat okay. But if you tested 100 ads, you might find 10 winners, and within those 10 winners, 2 of them are like absolute bangers and they make you a lot of money. So therefore, when you tested 100, you had more data to go off of. So by the time someone actually purchases your product, there's more revenue at the top because you had more testing at the bottom. And we want to visualize that. But let's use keywords to help us become inspired here. First thing I do though, before actually trying to visualize ads, pyramid, revenue at top, I actually start with the background, and I'm going to show you how I get inspired for backgrounds. As we talked about before, you should have your editor's inspiration board, but sometimes you max that out and you want to find some new things as you're going about editing the video. So what I do is just look up things on Google, or I watch other people's videos, take their backgrounds or get inspired from their backgrounds. Like I said, we're in copying mode where you don't always want to copy, but you for sure want to copy when you're just starting out and learning top level styles. Because like I said before, if you don't copy, you'll never understand what it takes to create a top level style. And then you won't be able to take inspiration from knowing how to do other advanced styles and make your own unique thing. So once again, we're in copying mode because we're also not sharing this with anybody and trying to profit off of it. Okay, so background. First thing I'm going to do is look up some inspiration on Google. Like I said before, we're going for that Vox style. So one great spot for inspiration is just looking up Vox graphics, and we can start to piece together ideas of how they do things. So right off the bat, I'm seeing some backgrounds with textures here, a little paper texture, a little pattern here, grid over here, newspaper type stuff, a lot of textures, this grayish black, which is cool. Another thing is, I'm going to talk about this in another video, but you should be constantly being a student of the game, meaning you should be watching other creators' content for inspiration all the time. If you're not doing that, you're not updating your inspiration or your memory bank for inspiration. Quick example is, one time I was creating a video, I came to this part and I knew exactly how to visualize it because I watched a video 2 weeks ago before I started editing this video that I was working on. And there was a cool part and I'm like, hey, this is a really cool part. I like how they did this visualization, and that was stored in my memory. So by the time I came to editing this video and I got to this one part, I'm like, hey, wait, I saw something similar to this, or I could do something similar to this that I saw in a different video 2 weeks ago. I'm going to apply that and put it onto this video. And that's exactly what I did. So be a student of the game, constantly be watching others. There's a lot of great inspiration out there. Ali Abdaal, Iman Ghazi, Vox are just a few to name that everybody really likes. So I'm collecting some data here. I'm getting inspired. There's a background I get inspired by. I'm even going to check out their YouTube channel. Alrighty, so I found this great background for inspiration from Vox. So what I'm going to do is actually copy this, and I talk about this later in your frame exercise, which is in the editing process module, where I show you how to exactly, copy a style and learn a style. But for now, this video is more about how I'm researching to find inspiration rather than showing you the exact details and how I do everything in Photoshop. So if it seems like I'm jumping ahead a lot and you're like, how is Brett doing all this stuff in Photoshop? That will be explained later. Like I said, this video is just about researching and how I get inspired by researching. So we have this background here. I'm gonna screenshot it and copy it to the T because we're in copying and imitation mode at the moment. Normally I wouldn't do this in my own videos. I wouldn't just, completely copy from somebody. But like I said, we're in imitation mode. So now that I have that copied, I'm going to go and build out that exact background. And I talk about this in coming modules, but we want to pay attention to detail. That's one of the attributes of a great visualizer or a great editor. And so I even pay attention to like, what is the exact color background that they are using, and I eyedropper tool that and make my background that exact color because they already figured out what exact color works really well. We want to pay attention to detail like that, especially when we're getting inspired in our first couple of videos and just learning a style. Alrighty, so I have my background built out. As you see, it looks pretty much exactly like this screenshot here, and we're getting inspired. That's how I got inspired. I researched. I took something from a video. I looked up Vox, the aesthetic I'm going for, and I got inspired to make a background just like them. But the key here is we're now forming a completely unique sentence that Vox has never created before, but we're doing it in the Vox style. So let's keep on chugging here, and I use research to figure out how to do it in the Vox style. Once again, those keywords are ads, pyramid, revenue, and top. Let's start to visualize the word ads. Pyramid is really the biggest keyword here when I think of pyramid, and plus there's the word bigger here. Pyramid's a really big thing, so it's probably going to be big on screen. But let's start with ads, and I show you how I go about that. So I'm going to go over to Google. I'm going to look up ads. Okay, we're getting some things here. And remember, the inspiration I'm looking for is something that Vox would put in their video. That's really key. I don't want to take a cheesy thing like this and put it in our video because Vox would never do this. I'm looking for something that Vox would do. Looking at this, it kind of looks like Vox style. So does this a little bit. We could actually take this as inspiration. That's pretty cool, and adapt it to that Vox style a little bit more. That's all right, but I think I want to do more of an icon. So once again, using ads icon. Putting icon after things really helps you with some inspiration. So we're getting a couple icons here. Nothing that I quite want. Maybe something like this, but not really a phone, just more of like a video icon. This is where expanding upon a word will help you come up with more inspiration. So I'm going to look up ads video icon. Some things might pop up. This is not half bad. I like this triangle. Maybe combining that phone and the triangle would be cool. So I looked up short video icon. I expanded on the word. I looked up a couple different things just to keep on finding inspiration on something that I liked. Kind of like this, but I really like this right here. It's really simple. I could see Vox putting that in their video, making an icon like this. Because once again, if we go back to Vox graphics here, we get an idea of what they really like doing. There's some icons here, some illustration icons or vector style icons, even something like this. Now I'm completely inspired. Look how they're displaying icons right here. We have this diamond icon. Well, what if we took this icon right here? Because just taking this and putting it in our visualization isn't enough. If you do that, your frame, your video is going to come out looking so cheap. This is another problem that we had with our editors who first came on board to our team, is they would just take something they see online, download it, put it in the frame, and the frame wouldn't look good. You have to adapt this icon, this inspiration, and make it fit within this aesthetic that you're going for. For this instance, we want to make this icon here fit in the Vox aesthetic. And how do we do that? Well, we look up certain things that Vox does. So we see an icon like this. This is total great inspiration. We could even look up Vox icons. Maybe something will come up. Vox graphic icons. So I'm even looking up Vox graphic icons. We're seeing a lot of stuff here that is just great for inspiration. They fit a certain color. They use certain tones and colors that make the icon fall within the aesthetic. In this example here, they do certain things to the icons to make it fall in that aesthetic. And we want to be inspired by that. We want to take that and adapt that to our own icon. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to recreate this in Photoshop, this icon here. Take that style from Vox and apply it to this icon. Going over to Photoshop, I'm going to start building that out. So here we go. I built out that add icon. As you can see, I took this and then I took this right here, the diamond, and used those exact colors, how they formulated that, made it noisy with this, noise effect, and applied that to the add icon. And we got something that looks pretty cool. So now let's move on to our next keyword that we want to visualize, and that is pyramid. Okay, looking at Vox, looking at how they do things as a student of the game and watching a bunch of their videos, I know that a lot of times they mix photorealism with illustrations. So even looking at this image right here, this photo is real. These photos in the back are real, and there's a little bit of a circle illustration. They have illustrations here. So we want to, take this, be inspired about how they go about this, and find a pyramid in this style here. And we're going to have to probably adapt it to the Vox style. So I'm just going to look up pyramid. And I'm going to take this image and have it in that photorealism style. We can do things like look up pyramid Vox and see if there's anything that comes up. Like, this is kind of cool, actually. And the reason why I think this is cool, because I could see Vox creating something in these colors here. Here's something that Vox did. I don't necessarily think this fits the concept here, but more often than not, if you look up the word like Vox, you'll find some inspiration there that comes up. Could even look up pyramid illustration. And what I'm looking for here is things that Vox would do. So this looks something like Vox would do. And the key here is to also be really trained on how to do the Vox style, which I talk about in the editing module, which will help you identify how Vox or what Vox would use in their video. But just from my knowledge, I know that this kind of a little bit falls within that Vox aesthetic, and we could build upon this for our inspiration when coming up with a pyramid design. We have some things here. I think sticking with that photorealism is the best thing, and then just building upon that. So I'm gonna go back to this image here. I'm gonna download it, and I'm gonna make it fall within that Vox aesthetic. And knowing that Vox aesthetic, we go back a little bit. By being a student of the game, I know that they put it in black and white, so I'm gonna do just that. So there we go. I have my pyramid, and if you're asking yourself, oh, how did Brett make it look black and white, and how did Brett even go about developing this icon here? Once again, that's just going to be explained in the other modules. But for now, like I said, I'm just showing you how I use research for inspiration. All right, so part of the sentence here is testing more ads helps you build a bigger pyramid. All right, so ads, we want to have multiple ads, not just one. So I'm going to duplicate this a couple of times, show that we have multiple ads here, because the more ads, the more revenue at the top. Alrighty, there we go. Now let's move on to the next keyword. The next keywords is revenue and top. Like I said, one of the things that we want to do is expand upon a keyword. Because if we just looked up revenue, it's not going to come up with that great of inspiration. As you go about this, you'll know what certain keywords are going to pop up with what. I'm not really getting inspired. I'm not really seeing anything that Vox would do. Maybe something like this is close. Something like this, maybe coins, and making it fall within that Vox style could be possible. But let's expand upon this word. So I'm going to look up money, and I'm going to look up money Vox. Money is the expansion of that word, and then Vox is a certain style that we're looking up here. Things are already popping up. So I'm just going to click around and find something that I can create that I think would look good, or something that inspires me to put it into my own frame that I'm working on. Like, this is pretty cool. What if we did a money symbol like this, in this exact color and this exact grain effect, and put that at the top of the pyramid? That could work for sure, but I want to just keep on searching around and see if there's anything else. Like, look at this right here. Even the background. This is something that we could have done. Like, this is pretty cool. Something that for sure starts sparking my brain up a little bit when it comes to inspiration. But let's keep on moving on. So one of the things I found here, which I went kind of down a rabbit hole of just clicking around, is this image right here. And this was actually created by Vox for Zelle, which is really interesting. And if you go to the site, there's so much inspiration here that we can utilize for, future videos. But I think just recreating this is enough and having this at the top of our pyramid. So I'm going to do exactly that. Okay, so I built this little money thing here, being completely inspired by this through our research. You know, it looks pretty good. I think this is starting to look something like Vox would create. That's the key point here too, is just, you know, whatever you're creating, make sure it's trying to fall within that aesthetic. We're not just, you know, looking up money icon, taking something like this, downloading that, and then putting that in our frame. It's going to make the frame look so cheesy. It's going to make our visualization look extremely cheesy. If we were going to take something like this, we would have to do it in the manner of how Vox would do it. So there is ways to like convert this icon like I showed you, like the add icon, to make it look like, you know, fall within that aesthetic. But like I'm searching for things here that Vox would possibly use. This is something here. There might be some things that Vox would do to this, like add some noise or texture to it. But this is a little bit closer to what Vox would use than this. And like I said, in the videos that you'll watch in the future, I show you how to even identify like what Vox would use. And that's just through training your brain on how to do the Vox style. And there's certain exercises that I have for that. All right, this is looking pretty good. I think we can expand upon this a little bit more just for aesthetic purposes and just making this look a little bit better. One of the things here is build a bigger pyramid. So now like other keywords are starting to come into effect. I think build. So how can we show the pyramid being built? So let's, you know, find some research for that. So I'm gonna look up building pyramid illustration and see what comes up here. So I'm seeing this like a block format. What if we converted our photorealism of that pyramid into these blocks and then animated them being built? That's something. Okay, I clicked around and I found this where the pyramid is kind of sectioned off here. And we can use this inspiration and apply it to our Vox style pyramid and show it being built in animation. But for now, I'm just gonna, you know, do it visually in Photoshop. And so I'm gonna apply this inspiration to my pyramid visualization in Photoshop. And there we have it. We have a cool sectioned off pyramid, just like this right here. And it looks like in the aesthetic Vox would have it, completely inspired just by researching. And now what I'm gonna do is just add a couple little bit more things that Vox may do just to overall make this look better. Alrighty, so I adjusted some things around, added some text here, just because through this screenshot, you know, if you look at the text here, they often use this really just white colored, nice kind of bold text. So I added that here and it looks really good. This is exactly how I researched and used that research for inspiration for coming up with visuals. And that's what you want to do. If you ever get stuck on an idea for a visual, or even if you're building a visual and you want to learn how to build it in that style, you should be researching that style. Say I wanted to build this in the Iman Ghazi style. Well, I should then watch his videos, take a background from his video, be inspired by a background from his video, be inspired about how he does certain icons, because they might not do photorealism in his videos that often. They actually do more illustration. So this pyramid would be more of an illustration. And I'd use my research and look at how they actually make an icon. Like what do they add to it? What colors do they use? What texture do they add to it? Do they add some sort of effect to it, a glowing effect to it? I'll take that inspiration and apply it to the pyramid that I'm building. So you need to be a student of the game. You need to use these little tactics here that help you research and become inspired. The biggest one is really just finding images that are close to the desired aesthetic using the keyframes. That's what's really gonna help you out there. And then taking those images and making them fall within that aesthetic you're going for. Now I'm gonna talk about some other things as far as research and show you an example of a video I created. And I'm gonna show you where I got inspired from. And as I was editing that video, there were certain things I was looking up and I stole some ideas from people a little bit, made them my own a little bit, and I came up with a really great edited video. So I'm gonna show you that in the next video over.